don't look at this as a tool, but start looking at this as your lifetime employee. ChatGPT is getting integrated with Apple Intelligence. ChatGPT is going to be integrated with other tools and possibly robots and things in the future. The more you can start personally training your ChatGPT now, it's going to become a lifelong employee for you. The perfect employee that agents always wanted, that knows what you want, knows what you're going to do. You train it once and you never have to retrain it again. Welcome back to the show. My name is Remington Ramsey, and we've got a pretty cool show lined up, a pretty cool topic with Mr. Nick Krim from Cleveland. Believeland. How's it going, Nick?
Man, I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for having me on, Remington.
I'm excited to talk to you about AI and what it means to be AI certified. You've had a journey through real estate, never having been a realtor yourself, much like me, but found a niche in a way to help agents through AI. So tell us what you're doing now, and then we'll start back at the beginning on how you got into that.
Yeah. So, what we're doing now is we created the world's first AI certified agent and launched the Krim Institute of Artificial Intelligence. And we're really focused on helping real estate agents get the minimal effective dose with AI. What's the smallest amount they need to know to be dangerous and get accustomed to this new technology that's out there?
Man, I love that. And so you are starting with, I'm assuming, like ChatGPT and certain sites that are like basic, and then teaching them how to use that for their business or their listings, or what does that even look like?
Yeah, no, it's a great question because, there's so many different ways to utilize AI, just like marketing. There's so many different ways that you can market as a real estate agent. So what we're doing is going step by step. It's where you start, and then how do you get a fully trained ChatGPT to know exactly who you're marketing to, target the individuals, help with your listings, amongst other tools that we dive into. We have about 5 AI tools that we specialize in that we help real estate agents get with their marketing, branding, and lead gen for their business.
So what are those 5? Because we're gonna spend a little bit of time talking about that. Tell me the 5 that you use.
Yeah, so the first one, of course, is ChatGPT. ChatGPT can run basically all your copy, graphics, and what you have. The second tool that I use is my personal AI assistant and everything I do. It's called Merlin. Getmerlin.in is the website. And it's essentially your personal assistant everywhere that you go on your computer. Helps you respond to emails, helps you, you can chat with documents back and forth. The third one is called Opus.pro. Opus, it's a very simple tool to create done-for-you reels, subtitles, captions in seconds. It can take a 1-hour video and chop it up and create reels for you. Canva AI is the fourth tool. So utilizing Canva, there's some cool new AI features. I'm sure a lot of agents are already using Canva in their business. And the fifth one is called HeyGen, Heygen. And it's where you can literally create a video duplicate that sounds like you and looks like you in your videos.
I've seen that. That's wild because you can actually, I don't know if this is the site that you can do that with, but you can actually change the language, right? So you can say something for like 15 seconds and then say, hey, translate that into German, and it'll still do it with my face, right?
Yeah, no, it's really exciting. That's the site. It can do it with your face and your voice. And places like, there's a couple cities in Japan that is now using it for tourism. So when you go, you can select your language and talk back and forth with an AI human to get to see where you're going and how you're working.
Man, like most people, I hear these things and like part of me is like excited about this, but the other part of me is just straight up scared. Like, you know what I mean? Like I imagine a lot of your business, if this is your niche and this is what you're training people on, do you field a lot of questions on like the fear-based mindset around AI?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's fear of the unknown because they just don't know what they don't know. I refer back to right when the internet first came out. I have headlines from the New York Times saying computer virus spreads to humans, and like all of a sudden people were freaking out. And it's the same thing with the internet. People just weren't aware of how it actually worked, what it actually did, and they just see these Terminator memes and they kind of buy into the fear. So a lot of it is just embracing the new technology. And it's happening whether we like it or not. So we're just kind of embracing the new technology. And once you see how it works, it's really not that scary. It's actually pretty cool.
What are the main fears around AI? I mean, you've got the iRobot, you've got the movies that come out that were basically, I mean, even
with Space Odyssey, right? The first movie to basically say, hey, computers are going to eventually grow a conscious and feelings and take over the world. How do you dispel those myths and rumors?
Well, I think the first thing is just understanding that right now we are on generative AI, right? So the AI that they see in the movies, we're not there yet. So when we get to that point, maybe we'll have a different conversation. But generative AI essentially means the AI cannot do anything unless I ask it to and I generate a response back and forth. So for right now, those what you see in the movies, we aren't there yet. Maybe
So we haven't created anything that you know of yet that actually thinks for itself?
No, not that it thinks for itself without us prompting it and giving it guidelines. No.
Even some of these AI tools where you can give them initial prompts and just say, go, they're not built to grow.
It's not built to grow, and it works based on the model that you give it, the large language model that you give it.
Interesting. What's the most compelling AI tool that you see that could potentially morph into that?
Well, I'll tell you what. So I'm a part of one of the groups there's about 150 CEOs that are talking about AI, quantum mechanics, and things that are happening without the world.
Yeah.
They're saying within this decade, which is pretty crazy to think, within this decade, the next 6 years, we're going to have AI robots that cook, clean, and do our yard work for us for less than $400 a month. They already have the crazy thing is they already have the robots built. They're just kind of getting the semantics and making sure that one, they work properly and the pricing on it done. So this isn't future talk. This is happening within the decade.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing about those is let's say that we never, let's pretend like we never get to the point where that actually does happen, where robots start thinking for themselves. Yeah. If they're creating these robots to be able to do those tasks, cleaning, cooking, mowing the yard, then they're going to have certain human qualities where you can program them. The bad guys could, hack into a system and program them to do some pretty evil things. I mean, I feel like the fear in some cases is warranted.
I could definitely see where you're coming from. I mean, the same thing could be said about the drones that we already have in the world as well, right? Like you can control an entire drone army that can come in and do essentially anything that you want it to. So I think the fear is warranted, but I think it's the same thing with, you can go into the arguments, humans and guns. The guns are fully capable of doing this, and there's plenty of evil people in the world, and we just hope that there's more good people than bad.
I think that's one of the best things that I've heard is, we got to make sure there's enough good guys on the good side to combat the bad guys. When cars were first invented, you're thinking, okay, what can the bad guys use cars for to further their cause, right? So AI is a little, it's the most advanced so far. I mean, basically, maybe we're a human race that is hard to impress these days, and AI is actually pretty impressive, and that's why we're so scared. I mean, the last thing to come close to this shocking would be the internet itself. Yeah, I think, which was like what, mid 80s, early 90s, where it really came on the scene.
Yeah, and you're right. It is single-handedly the greatest advancement in technology in human history. And that's what we're in the middle of. And that's, to me, is exciting because there's so much opportunity that is starting to be gained with this.
Yeah. All right, well, let's get back to your 5 tools. I like this. This is cool. So you ChatGPT, 1, most basic, 2, personal AI assistant, Merlin. I want to dig into that one. That sounds interesting. Yeah. Number 3, Opus.pro, 4, Canva.ai, and then finally 5, HeyGen.ai. Let's start at the beginning. So ChatGPT came on the scene. It's the one that basically you send it some prompts and it comes out with well-written documentation. What do you find is the top most effective ways of using ChatGPT if you're a realtor?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So I think the first thing, just understanding that your ChatGPT is not the same as my ChatGPT. What I mean by that is we all have to individually train it to do the things that we want it to do. Right. I've trained it to sound like me. I've trained it, and this is a big one for agents out there, who your ideal client profile is. You don't want to just start saying, create me a post for buyers or sellers, and don't mistake speed for quality. So what you want to do as an agent is you want to go in and start asking it the goals, the fears, the motivations, what are the pain points of your target audience to start creating your ideal client profile. So like within ChatGPT, you want to be able to train it how to do things specifically for you. So I think those are some.
You do this through multiple prompts that are all used at the same time.
So we use multiple prompts that are all used at the same time. So we'll ask it, we'll first identify who your target audience is. And guys, your target audience isn't buyers or sellers. What we usually say is who, how old are they, and where are they located? So I'll say first time millennial home buyer in Sarasota, Florida will be an example of a good target audience. And then you could go in and start asking it, what are the goals of a first-time millennial home buyer in Sarasota? What are the fears? What are the motivations? What are the pain points? Now create me an ideal client profile using the information above. And
So
now,
just so I'm clear, what you're doing is you're actually asking ChatGPT for this and succeeding questions. So you ask it, hey, what are the pain points of a buyer experiencing this? And it stores it right there. Then you ask, what are the same fears that they have? And then you build up a list of questions. And then once you have that, you then say, now take that person and write an ad for that person.
Now take that person. And what I would say first is, because now there's a brand new feature on 4.0. Most people don't know, but you want to say, now add this to your memory.
Mm-hmm.
So now on that entire thread will be added to the memory of my Chat GPT. So I don't have to ask it every single time I go in there. Now that ideal client profile is built into my Chat GPT, and I can go back and ask more questions and prompts based on that information.
So ChatGPT feels like it's vastly undervalued in terms of how they're making their money. Or, you know, who owns ChatGPT and how are they making their money right now?
I mean, that's Sam Altman of Microsoft, the majority shareholders of ChatGPT.
Okay.
They're making their money just by sheer volume of users. Same way that, sheer volume of users that are coming.
But I mean, you can have your first account for free, right? So like you get it for free, and then you have option for pro. And so, do you see, you know, if we have the vast majority of people, which what I assume have the free account, at what point do they spin it and start, you know, selling advertising, diluting the site? Like, do they make enough money off of the pro to just not even worry about that?
I think they make enough money off the pro, but it's all about data, information, and people are just feeding it with more and more questions, more and more information.
Selling the data.
And there's big data, man. That's where the money's really at. And, you know, they have these servers that are stored up that are just collecting more and more data, more and more information, which then they're going to be able to build their next server and the next server. And, you know, ChatGPT also just teamed up with Apple for Apple Intelligence. So now Apple Intelligence come November, it's going to be on all of our Apple iPhones. And that's going to be a whole nother ball game in itself, because then it's going to be built into your phone, recording, giving you notes on your conversations. And I see that as being another game changer when it comes to how you run your business and the tools that you have at hand.
We're talking about fear mindset. We're talking about we're talking about regulating. Did you follow the whole TikTok thing where we're at with TikTok?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the TikTok regulations?
My thoughts are whether it's TikTok or another program are going to be coming up, and then how it has all the information on your phone. I feel like the difference with TikTok is they tell you up front. That's just my personal belief.
They tell you what up front? That it's going to be addicting?
Well, the addicting portion of it, there's the addicting portion of it, how they manipulate the algorithms, and then also how they store literally all the data off your phone, even when you're not on TikTok.
So they tell you up front. So your argument would be, I don't know, there's a you know, a legal issue to be had when we tell you this is what we're doing and then we do it.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it's if you ask the everyday person, do you believe that Apple has all the information that you've ever said on your phone? They'd say yes. Do you believe Alexa is recording your conversations and has the information that is being stored for you? They'd say yes. But then they say they're shocked when TikTok is doing this all and see it on here. So I think it's just one of those, they're just clearly stating it.
I wonder if it's because the average age of a TikTok consumer is children, and they don't necessarily have the same type of rights that an adult does. I think we get way more triggered as a society when things are affecting our kids. You can see that with other issues.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, as it should be as well. So I think it is detrimental. And I think it's just interesting how the algorithm is manipulated by what part of the world you're in as well. So that's a whole other argument in itself. What they do with dances and everything on TikTok here versus what they show in other parts of the world.
Nick Krim on AI in Believeland. Okay, so ChatGPT, we have any before we move on to your Merlin assistant, is there any tip or trick or something I might not know about ChatGPT that I should look into?
I would say it's just about the mindset around ChatGPT. Don't look at this as a tool,
but start looking at this as your lifetime employee. ChatGPT is getting integrated with Apple Intelligence. ChatGPT is going to be integrated with other tools and possibly robots and things in the future. The more you can start personally training your ChatGPT now, it's going to become a lifelong employee for you. The perfect employee that agents always wanted, that knows what you want, knows what you're going to do. You train it once and you never have to retrain it again. Start looking at this as a lifetime employee and not just a tool.
Do you feel like ChatGPT is going to replace writers? Like we have writers now that are, I mean, even in my industry, we've got, we have 4 to 6 actual stories within a single issue of Real Producers Magazine. And you have writers who are doing interviews and then writing it. And a lot of them are already using those AI tools. Is that diluting the quality of human touch on writing?
I don't believe so. I believe it's going to form a different type of creativity. Right? Because like with how you use ChatGPT, there's a lot of creative ways that you can utilize this tool. And the ones that, I've been saying this a lot, there's going to be people who use AI and then people who are out of the business. The ones that can adapt to using AI are going to love it. They're going to get creative with it. They're going to be able to output more and really spread their creativity. And then there's going to be everybody else who clings to the old ways and eventually gets weeded out. I don't think it's going to get rid of jobs. It's just going to create new ones.
All right. That was ChatGPT. Very compelling. Definitely makes me want to look into my prompts and be more effective. 2 is interesting. You said Merlin will follow you around on your devices and actually be your personal assistant and help make things more smooth for you in your life. How does it do that?
Yeah, great question. So it's a Chrome extension is what Merlin is, right? And you can start off for free, which is why I think it's a great place for a lot of people to start off. But it just follows you around on your laptop anywhere you go. Anytime I'm reading an article, I can just click on Merlin and it gives me a summary on the article. I Google something and then Merlin pops up with the top 10 resources, summarizes the resources, and gives me the summary on the side. So instead of reading the different articles, I go to Merlin. What I love it for too is YouTube University, right? You go to a YouTube video, it might be an hour long. You click on Merlin on the side, summarizes the video for you in seconds, and then you could click on the point in the video that you want to go listen to. So it gets you the summary and then you click on it. It's in my email. So it'll read the email and I can type in and let them know I'm not interested, but make it look professional. And it'll write me a response that not interested, but makes it look professional. And my personal favorite way to use it is it can chat with documents on the fly. So like the big one is the NAR lawsuit. I'm sure you guys have been here. There's a lot of talk about it. You can literally upload the entire guidelines into Merlin and chat with the document back and forth based on what you can do.
To better understand the document?
Better understand the document. So it reads the entire document and then you can chat back and forth with it.
That's fascinating. So Merlin, at first, the way you were describing it first, I was like, well, ChatGPT just does it. You have to give it the prompt to do it. But if Merlin's on the side of your computer while you're watching a YouTube video, how does it pull all the information simultaneously, watching an hour-long video on YouTube and then deciphering it into like a summary? How does it do that?
Great question. So essentially it just takes the entire transcription and like AI works 125,000 times faster than the human brain. So it basically takes the entire video, summarizes it. It uses places like Claude, ChatGPT, Llama, amongst other ones. So it uses their information, but it essentially travels with you to web pages. So I don't have to be on ChatGPT. I theoretically could upload those videos amongst other tools to ChatGPT, but it just makes it more convenient because it follows me. So it's essentially ChatGPT built into YouTube, and then you just click Merlin, summarize it, and in seconds, it just gives me a summary. One with the talking points, or I can get the entire transcript if I choose.
What do you find you're using Merlin for, like on a regular basis in your daily business?
Daily business, I would say one, when people send me videos, because for me, I run an institute. So people are always sending me training videos and what have you. So I'll summarize the videos in seconds to see, do I really even want to watch this? So I can take an hour video and be like, what do they really talk about inside of the video? I use it within there. I use it to respond to emails when it's a longer email and I have to write a, a wordy response. I can't just give hey, I'll be there, Remington. So I'll go through that and it'll respond to emails for me. And the last one is I can summarize blog posts in seconds. That's the big one that I like using. Summarize it and then tell it to rewrite it in my own words because it knows how I write.
Well, and this is where it can get you into trouble, though, because much like any type of summary, you can miss some pretty major things or the artful first version of something. Like you've heard it said before, the the book is better than the movie, right? Why is that? Well, the movie, like, if you watch Boys in the Boat and you read Boys in the Boat, the movie really only covers less than 20% of what the book actually covers. So if you're getting a summary from, any type of summary for like an hour-long video to decide whether or not you want to, watch the whole thing or not.
Yeah.
I've seen summaries of things that I've written and spoke for, and I'm like, man, you missed some very vital things. So I think where it can get us into trouble is if we take that as the golden standard, then we're probably going to be missing out on some pretty vital things. Are you seeing that at all?
Yes, I think I am seeing that. And what I will say to that as well is you're absolutely right. It's not perfect. Anything that ChatGPT writes, I don't take it to the bank and say, this is what we're going to use, as well as Merlin.
Yeah.
What I do like about it is I pick the part of the video I like and it has a timestamp so that I can click on it and then go listen to that portion of it. So let's say, for instance, I don't want to hear the 10-minute intro when they're talking about their products and services.
Yeah.
So I can just quickly click on it. So I think I think that's what you were talking about, the writers. There's still the human element that needs to be had in any of this. You don't want to just summarize and get a blog post. So it's speeding up some like anytime you create efficiency, there might be some things lost along the way.
Yeah.
But I look at my time as if I saved a half hour and got the nuggets that I needed, I'm okay with missing a couple more.
Yeah. So you've mentioned on both 1 and 2, ChatGPT and Merlin, you've mentioned how you can prompt AI to talk like you, to create reports like you, to sound like you, to write like you. What are the prompts that you have to use in both of those? I'll give you an example. So like for me, the way I write a publisher's note each month, and I take that publisher's note and I create reels from it. I create longer chapters of books from it. And like I take these concepts, and the way I write is I tell a story, then I give how that story relates to life and business. And then at the very end, I wrap it back up into the original story with a quick little funny thing. So like that's my style of writing. How would I be able to tell ChatGPT, hey, take this information and write it like Remington Ramsey would?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So the memory feature is a huge feature that was introduced with ChatGPT 4.0. So what we do is we train agents, you can upload entire documents. So I have about 10 pages of documents of my writing style built into it. And then after I upload it, I say, now update memory word for word and label this my writing style. So then it goes through and it reads it. It gives a summary of my writing style. And I've even given it notes about phrases that I use, how I start it, how I end it, what my hooks are. So that way it starts to understand that I always start with my hooks. I get into my stories and then I get into what I'm offering, right? So then it takes what I tell it my writing style is, then it sees examples of my writing style. And now I just say, this is my writing style, update memory. So now anytime I can go to ChatGPT and prompt it based on my ideal client profiles, then I can go back and say, now write this in my writing style. I'll start with my hook, get into my story, and then get into my offer each and every time. So in essence, what you just told me, if you write that out and then say update memory with my writing style, it knows how your writing style is going to be formatted.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I mean, I think where people get messed up is they think that AI is going to be different than any other type of tool that they've used before. Where like if you use a shovel and you're trying to shovel out mud and you're using it the wrong way, you're not going to be able to shovel out the mud. And I think some people just don't know how to put in the prompts. And so now they get a product out that they're like, this is terrible. This is not, and it's all about how you use the tool. And I've done it the right way. I've done it the wrong way. And when you give it the right prompts, it is pretty phenomenal what it can come up with.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And it's just understanding that AI, and especially ChatGPT, is not intelligence in itself. You have to think of this. It has all the information on the internet. As exciting as it is, think about all the stupid things that are on the internet. It has that too. So if you just tell it to do something, it can pull from the worst article on the planet and write it based off of that. So that's where the training does come into it.
Is there tools in place right now? Like if I said, hey, ChatGPT, show me the first chapter of The Great Gatsby. I haven't done this yet. I wonder, like, will it do that, or is there like infringement rights where like there's no copyright available? Like, I was talking here. Actually, here's a better question. We'll answer that first.
Yeah, if it's available on the internet, yes. So if it's
Yeah.
if you can just Google Great Gatsby and get it word for word on the internet, then yes, it can do it. Unless it might bypass some things because it doesn't really understand the copywriting guidelines as well.
Yeah.
So if it is like if things are readily available on the internet, it will pull it up for you.
Well, so we had Eric Forney. I don't know if you know this name. Eric Forney is one of the top realtors in Indy. He's also one of the top realtors who actually partnered with Gary Keller for one of Gary Keller's teams, and he helped write the book of AI for Keller Williams. He was talking about how he was digging in and basically arguing with ChatGPT to figure out what who is actually running this and what the I don't know, the bias that ChatGPT was made with, basically trying to argue from either far right or far left agenda. And it was pretty interesting what he came up with. Have you ever seen anything on that?
Yeah, I have seen a lot with that as well. And it has touchy subjects about race, religion, and other sides. And it does have opinions built into it. So it's interesting how that plays into it. And you can even argue how fair housing could be played into that as well, based on the opinions and biases that ChatGPT has built into it.
Something to be aware of. I don't know what you do with that information yet. You just definitely want to be aware of that.
You definitely want to be aware of it. And I think that just comes into how the individual goes about using it. What's the end goal of these programs? Which, I mean, I wish I could tell you I know what Sam Altman is planning with it, but, here we are.
Yeah. I mean, he would say stuff like, I can't, so he would ask a question in ChatGPT. He would finally find a question that ChatGPT didn't feel comfortable answering.
Yeah.
And he would go back with saying, I can't believe you would accuse me of this. This is an outrage. And just basically go way over the top. And ChatGPT would work backwards and start apologizing. It was really interesting. It's a nice little case study for you if you ever get a chance. All right. So that was Merlin and ChatGPT. I think Merlin is pretty fascinating. I definitely didn't know about it, and we'll look into that for my own business. Number 3 is Opus.pro. What is that about?
Opus, it's very simple. I'm sure you guys have seen it. Like you were saying, you create reels, right? So what you can do is essentially right after this podcast is done, you can take this Zoom video, upload it into Opus, and it identifies what are the most engaging talking points in this. It'll put us like one at the top, one on the bottom, reel style, add subtitles to it. And then you can even at a click of a button, add B-roll to your reels. So in seconds, instead of trying to edit the video yourself or hire someone to edit it, it's about $12 a month. And you can create done-for-you reels out of all the videos that you've created in the past.
And it builds in the B-roll and the captions.
Builds in the B-roll. It builds in the captions. You can go back and edit it. Yeah, it's a really cool tool. It adds emojis to it. And it will even give you an engagement score. So it'll tell you based on the algorithms that are out there, which one of these is going to be the most engaging, and gives you a summary that you can then plug into different places.
You know why that's valuable is because it is ever changing, man. Like if you look at the reels that were popular even a year ago, there were reels like there was meme videos where essentially you'd have 2 people on the screen and it had like a certain framing that was really popular. And then all of a sudden they're like, no, we want it to be vertical and only one person on the screen at a time. Just within a calendar year, there's been probably 3 or 4 different drastic changes on the reels. Yeah. And so having an AI tool that's keeping up for you would probably be pretty effective.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And they do a great job. And like what you were saying too, is keeping up with the different algorithm changes. So they offer you different formats based on what's hot and based on what wasn't. So of course you can use some of the old formats, but then they'll recommend that you use some of the new formats. So, especially for real estate agents, look, most people didn't get into the real estate industry to become marketing experts and social media gurus. So keeping up with that just added another hat that you had to wear in your business. Now with a tool like Opus, it can kind of keep up with it for you and give you some of the latest trends.
You know what's crazy about all these different apps is I'm thinking about like just the apps like CapCut and some of the other ones that we're using to build these things. You can store, like let's say you have an hour-long interview that you chop up into a bunch of reels. You're storing all of that memory in Google Drive, in Notion, in CapCut. The amount of content out there for just a single individual, let alone, it's gobs of memory. And no wonder like it costs so much to store things. I mean, we have storage units out on the highway and we can't get rid of our crap. It's becoming like that on the internet with all the stuff that we're filming.
No, it really is. And and that's where, like you were asking about ChatGPT, how they make their money, and just for the audience as well. That's what they're doing. It's just getting and storing the gold mine that is data to be able to then remarket and get other information to you.
Makes me wonder how we can do that better. All right. Canva.ai. How is number 4, Canva.ai, different than just Canva?
Oh, it is Canva. They just upgraded their features. So it's just canva.com, but it's Canva AI. They have some new features that are within there as far as like how you can take graphics and make them motion graphics and do similar things around there. It's very similar. We'd have to jump into Canva to show you the subtle differences. But for those of you that are using Canva, to check out their new program that they rolled out, it's just really interesting what they're doing with their graphics department. And also, what most people don't know, just a quick note, is ChatGPT. If you do @Canva, then you can speak with Canva, create an image, and then click on it, and it opens in your Canva account. I thought that was pretty cool.
That's fascinating. I literally just asked my VA yesterday to create an image and find out what website actually creates image. So you're saying if I say, hey, I want an image of Donald Trump riding a horse, you can tell Canva to do that now?
So within ChatGPT, there's something called custom GPTs that they created, right? So on the left-hand side, you'll see Explore GPTs. Essentially, this is a Netflix library of AI tools. Most people can get rid of 90% of the subscriptions that they have because it's free. So you can type in chef and then take a picture of your refrigerator, and then the chef custom GPT upload it and ask it, what can I make with this? And the custom GPT will tell you the different things you can make. Within that, there is Canva. So inside of ChatGPT, you can type in Canva and explore GPTs. It'll pop up. So now it's basically, I'm using ChatGPT to communicate with Canva. I can ask it, create me a first-time homebuyer flyer for Sarasota, Florida. They'll give me image options. And then once I click on the image, it directly opens up in my Canva account.
Yeah. So now we're using both of them to talk to each other. That's super cool.
Yeah.
So, and then the last one is HeyGen, and you explained this virtually, but you got pretty excited. Your eyes lit up when you were talking about this one. So I imagine this one you're pretty passionate about.
Yeah, we're passionate about it just because I see how it's being utilized in the world. Like right now, there's some Dallas news networks that are starting to use HeyGen for their news anchors. Okay. Right? So it'll be someone that looks like a news anchor and sounds like a news anchor, and they can just upload scripts. I saw there was a government down in Argentina that used this to create a message out to their public in over 100 different languages. So the person who gave the speech, and they just clicked the different language, and all of a sudden they were giving different speeches. And I just see it as being used. I always used to say, so we own a branding and marketing company for years inside the real estate industry. Personalized video will help you convert leads, right? Because I say, hey, Remington, how's it going? I just saw you on our website. You're like, oh, yeah, that's me. So HeyGen allows you to scale personalized video, right? When someone signs up on your website, it shoots them a video of you, looks like you and sounds like you, inserts the person's name, say, hey, Remington, how's it going? I saw you were looking at 123 Main Street. I just want to let you know there are some properties that aren't on our website. Go ahead and schedule a call with me below. And it's a personalized video that looks like you, sounds like you, sent out to your leads.
Now you could see how this could backfire because people definitely are riddled by the fact that there's so much false journalism out there. There's fake media out there, and so this is borderline. I would put it, if you do it the right way, I would put it more in the vein of like using a CRM to personalize the name, and you're just doing that. But when you put someone's face on it and in their own voice, like I can see how someone might get kind of offended by that. Do you put like a disclaimer at the bottom, or do we just ignore it for now, or what are we doing?
For videos on social media, I always tell people, let people know this is AIU. I think that's more impressive than trying to trick or deceive people.
Yeah, totally.
Or isn't you. So I think for social media, yes, I look at it as let people know it's AIU. And to me, that's more impressive that like, oh, wow, this is an AI version of you. And you get people curious. I even tell people, can you guys tell me where you can tell this is AI or not? And then I have a bunch of comments and people saying, oh, you don't blink in this or something along those lines. But for the email purposes, I look at it more so as a CRM, like you said, with emails, how we insert the name. Nobody says falsification on that. So I think it's similar on that front.
Yeah. Well, you shared 5 different tools, mostly for real estate, but really any business for that matter, that you use personally when you're coaching these real estate agents and real estate professionals. When someone comes to you and they say, hey, I want to work with you, what package do you build for them so that they understand why they can't just go and use these 5 things and change their business? What specifically do you as a coach bring to the table when you're using these?
So no, I think that's a great question too. So like we looked at this as a little bit different as well, because yes, do we train you on how to market, lead gen, create your branding utilizing these tools, absolutely, and set it up for you to train. We also look at what's the future of this. So that's why we created the AI certified agent. So that way agents can instantly differentiate themselves from everybody else. We actually even have trademarked the AI listing advantage. So that way, when you walk into a home, what is it that you do differently than everybody else? So it's not just how you use AI, but how you can articulate the value of using AI to your clients. We created the AI listing advantage and the AI buying advantage. So that way agents can instantly differentiate themselves from the agents who are not using AI. So I think that's where I believe we're creating the evolution of the real estate agent by saying, here's what traditional agents do and what AI certified agents can do for you as well.
You find yourself having to stay ahead of the curve with all this. I mean, it's got to be exhausting. People. This is a topic that people geek out over. So it's really easy to go down rabbit holes and just learn literally everything there is to know about it. You have to stay ahead of even those people to stay relevant. What's something new that we haven't even thought of? Like, what are you into right now that you're just trying to stay ahead of the game?
Well, I think there's a lot of different things that you can look into. There's two different avenues that I would say that help keep me ahead. I wish I could say it was just me behind a computer all the time, but I have an entire research and development team. So what we do is we have a group of real estate agents. There's about 800 agents from across the world. I think we're in like 5 different countries, 48 states. They're inside of this group. And then what I tell them to do is if you see new training, new tools or what have you, send it to us and we'll check it out. So that I'm having all these agents who geek out over it, like, hey, check this out, check this out. And my research and development team is constantly on Zooms, webinars, and seeing what's out there. We recently joined a pretty exclusive group. And, it's just really interesting. And this part of it has to do with real estate, but they're just CEOs from all over the world that are looking to revolutionize the way we do business. One of the different tools, I can't go into too much details about it, but it essentially, the next couple of years, imagine out in LA, right? All the traffic that they have. And there's a, what's it called? Like a travel device that will be able to take a 2-hour commute down to 15 minutes. And he's saying, how would that change the world? Yeah, it's pretty cool with the way that they're functioning and how it'll look. But imagine for real estate, what that would do. So now when people are saying, I don't want to move out here because of the commute, what if the commute didn't exist? How would that change housing prices? How will it change how you work and where you move to? So I think that's very interesting as well. Here's a couple.
Fascinating, man. Like, this is all great stuff. I do want to spend the last moments here talking about your book because early in the pre-show we were talking about how you've written a book, but that was before you got into AI. But I think it's pretty appropriate for what you're doing now. So I love authors and speakers. I love talking about the books they've written and why they wrote it. So tell everybody what your book is.
So this was it was when we first launched our first business, because when I was at a call center, I realized the agents who had a strong community brand were dominating everybody else. So we wrote a quick book. It was called The Community Champ. And what it did is essentially showed agents how to build their brand to make it so interchangeable within their community that when people think of North Royalton, Ohio, they think of the real estate agent first because they're so intertwined with it. Because we tell them within this book, one of the key points is once you own the mind share, you own the market share. When people think of that area and think of you first, that's what winning looks like. So we just dive deep into how you can get so intertwined within the community that people think of you anytime your city name is brought up.
And I've got to assume that is a core belief that you still use today, even with AI.
Absolutely. And I think that's where we tell people my number one belief as an AI certified agent is to spend less time behind a computer and more time communicating with your clients.
This has been phenomenal. Nick Krim in Believeland, AE certified agent. Where can we find you on all the socials?
Just Nick Krim, Nick_Krim on all of the socials. You'll be able to find me. We're constantly posting new content, new training videos. So go ahead and check us out.
Hey, if you guys got value from this podcast, do me a favor and tell us by leaving a 5-star review. Send us an email at podcast@realproducersmag.com to tell us who you want to hear from and what you want to talk about. Nick, thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on, man.
We'll see you next time.